What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us for yet another episode of us unpacking characters from the Bible. Today's episode, we'll be looking at part 1 of David's journey, just the initial setup of him getting into the spotlight and what it means to step into your power. This will be a 2-part episode. The next episode will be about the fall of David and how we can all learn how we need to do better, even when we are blessed with so much. Please enjoy this video. Like and subscribe, share it with as many people as you can. I hope you're able to share this with your friends, family, kids who need to maybe understand the Bible, etc. This is meant for all parties trying to unpack these historical figures in a modern way. So I hope you enjoy the video. Also, I want to give a big shout out to my Sunday school, Bethel AME Saginaw, for helping me understand the Bible in a way that my millennial brain can share it. So again, hope you enjoy this video and catch you on the next one. We back in it again. So let's get into it today. Success through failure. I've learned from my mess ups even more than from my wins. Getting through those tough moments lead us inevitably to our breakthrough. As long as, and this was a key word that someone said, as long as we learn from our mistakes. So mess ups are great because they show us our blind spots, things we weren't thinking about. They show us our deficits, places we can improve. But your mistakes can also kill you more than anything. A bad flaw is worse than a good strength. A bad flaw is worse than a good strength because your mistakes can eventually kill you even more than your strengths can propel you. It takes a lifetime to build a reputation, and it just takes seconds to destroy it. So let's look at a person in history. I have the pleasure of attending a Sunday school, and in this Sunday school, it's a bunch of knowledgeable elders for the most part, but I've really found a lot of benefit from learning about the people, the historical figures in the Bible as a way to understand myself. We're going to do a character spotlight today of a person who had great successes, but they also had egregious flaws, and that's none other than King David. King David, son of Jesse, hailing from Bethlehem. Let me tell you a little bit about King David for those that may not know, and for those that do know, maybe we can build on it even further. So let's talk about King David. David was a shepherd who at 15 years old became an employee of the king. We're talking about King Saul, the first king of Israel. He became an employee of him because he could play the harp. Now, his job was being a shepherd, but his talent was in music. He was able to be employed by the king because his music was able to soothe this king who had a restless spirit. Now, his employment with the king maybe have started through music, but it was through a calling bigger than that he really starts to shine, and we really see his true purpose. So at the time, there's a war going on, and they're fighting Israel's fighting the Philistines. The Philistines have a bad mamma jamma on their roster. This man named Goliath. Now, Goliath was a giant, huge, definitely hard to beat and probably impossible to beat for a 15-year-old shepherd who could play the harp. It's not even a tough instrument. No disrespect to the harp. Okay, but somehow, some way, through a divine calling, David was able to not only meet this challenge, but also see it through. This is, for me, an example of when you are in the right place, and then the opportunity meets you, and then you allow yourself to step forward to the opportunity. On paper, David shouldn't have been a match for Goliath, but he found and channeled a source bigger than him, and he was allowed himself to be used for a purpose bigger than him. There's a verse in the Bible, 1 Samuel 16:7, and it says, "The Lord does not look at the things people look at. People look at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." So again, when I think about this story and I think about David at this part in his life, this is somebody who maybe from what the average person could see is different than what his internal purpose was. And because he was so tapped in to what his internal purpose was, he was able to see something that others didn't see, used it to empower him to do something that people thought couldn't get done. And then he goes ahead and he does it. And the rest is history from that perspective. So when the pressure was on, under the brightest lights, David shone through. And I just think that's a beautiful thing. So shout out to Teen David. But one thing about David is his story doesn't end there, and we realize David is honorable, but this is not without flaws.